Hi guys, I'm here to talk fairly briefly, or what I think is briefly, about what to look for in a boarding facility or with a pet sitter. So I'm going to start with boarding facility. Kaya goes away to a outdoor dog camp when I'm away because she's very active, she's very social, and she needs to be able to run for more than an hour a day, which is important to her and to me because I want to know that she's getting what she needs, which is pretty much what you're looking for when you look for a boarding facility. Besides the obvious of cleanliness, how loud is it there? There's also a difference between a kennel and some boarding facilities. There's a slight difference. Kennels are typically the ones where they're left in crates most of the day, let out for an hour or so to run, go to the bathroom, things like that, and then they're put back in the crate. I've been to a few, and they're not my favorite just because some of them, the crates are packed side by side. They don't have a pan in the bottom that some of them do. They don't have any padding, anything soft to sit in because the dogs do sometimes go to the bathroom in there, and it's easier to clean that way. There are some that are strictly indoor, and there are some that are both indoor and outdoor. Again, it depends on your dog, but having one that's both indoor and outdoor is always a better idea because even with senior dogs, they do like getting outside too, even if it's not for that long. So having the option for your dog to go outside and lay in the sun or sit in the shade of a tree or something like that is always a really nice option for them. Some boarding facilities have additional fees for giving your pet their medication or for feeding anything that needs to be refrigerated. So basically, if you don't feed them kibble, you have to pay extra to have their food stored and have their medicine given to them, which I understand from a business standpoint makes sense, but what if a household has, 3 pets with chronic health issues, and then they have to pay X number of dollars a day extra per pet just so they can get the medicine that they need? So that's something to keep an eye out for because a lot of times they don't explicitly mention it. But again, it depends on the type of dog that you have. So if you have a super happy, friendly young dog, you're going to want one where they're allowed to run outside or play with friends for a long period of time because that's what's going to tire them out. When I went to pick up Kaya, the first time she went for a full week of camp, she slept for 5 days after because she would wake up, get fed, go out, run for half a day, be brought inside for a nap. After her nap, they let her back outside and she'd go run around again because she loves being outside and she loves other dogs. And for her that worked because that is what she needed. So it really depends on your dog. If you have a fairly aggressive dog, some kennels will not let you take your dog there because they typically do behavioral assessments before they allow your dog to stay overnight. So what you want to do is work with your dog on their aggressiveness. A lot of times people try to send them to kennels, multiple kennels, before they find one that actually lets them in. So making sure that your dog gets along with other dogs is a really big deal for a lot of people because if they don't, not a lot of people or pet sitters will look after your dog while you're away unless it's a family friend. Then you're usually okay. If it's somebody that the dog knows, then you're usually fine. If your dog likes to swim, some boarding facilities have ponds or pools for them to swim in, which is just kind of a little bonus. Obviously, the location is important. If it's far away from you, but you really want to send your dog there, some of them have shuttles that will pick up your dog, take it to the camp, and then drop it off in the same location whenever their booking is over. So even if it's just for a day, the shuttle is obviously extra, but if you want to send your dog there, then you'll do whatever you need to do. A lot of them have forms to fill out that are very basic. They ask questions like, does your dog get along with other dogs? Does your dog have any fears? Does your dog have any allergies? How does your dog react to water? How does your dog react to other things? Has your dog ever had surgery? Etc., etc. So making sure you know all that information is really important too. And the one that Kaya goes to, Dogs at Camp in Uxbridge, now has all their forms online. So it makes it really easy. You fill it out. You don't have to bring in a stack of paper every time they go into camp. You can update anything on it really easily. And then I just take her with her food, hand her over, and she's good to go. And once the dog's been there a few times, it's really interesting to see how the staff immediately know who she is. Because everybody there really loves her, and a lot of them also have Australian Shepherds. So when she gets dropped off, they're very excited to see her, which is always nice. If you have a senior or especially able dog, then you have to make sure that some of the facilities have, say, ramps for your dogs or quieter areas for your dog to be undisturbed. And most of them won't unless they're aware of the need for these animals. A lot of them, ramps I would say would probably be the most important, but that's something else to consider if you do have one of those pets. Reviews is another good thing if you want to get an idea about what other people think. A lot of times the highest rated ones can be a little pricier, but you get what you pay for. Your pet's going to be happy all the time. It's going to get to play all day, but ultimately your pet's happiness is worth it, in my opinion anyway. Pickup and drop-off policy. For some border kennel type places, they have specific drop-off windows and pickup windows, which have to be pre-booked, but a lot of times it's a time that may not be convenient for you. So for example, if it's after 9 or 9 to 9:30 and you start work at 9, then that place may not work for you unless you can set up a predetermined earlier drop-off. I know Kaya's place has one at 8 in the morning and one midday. But I usually coordinate with my family and get one of them to drop her off and say I'll pick her up if I'm away. Or I'll drop her off the night before and then somebody will pick her up before I get back. Just to shave a day off either side. Prices. Obviously this is an important thing to look at because if something's out of your price range, then your dog probably won't go there. But some places have deals if you stay longer. So for example, up to 6 days is one price per day, but 7 to 13 is, say, $3 less a day. So it doesn't come out to that much of a difference, but if you're going for a long period of time or have multiple dogs in the household, usually they'll give you a deal on that too. So say you have 2 dogs, first dog is price X, and the second dog is price X minus a certain number, which means that if you have a household with a lot of dogs, then, or you and your friend are going away and you both have dogs, then you can send them together and get the lower price. Just something to consider. So, pet sitters. A lot of times there are companies that you can call and they will send a pet sitter to your house. What you want to make sure, and I watched a couple of videos on this before I decided to talk about pet sitters, just because you want to make sure about the references. Because what I saw, watched a few videos about this one company in the States that hired the person for half an hour a day to come and see their dog for a week while I were away. And they had hidden cameras set up to see how long the person stayed and what they actually did. So the first was that the lady showed up, stayed for 10 minutes, and then left. And when they approached the company about it, they said, oh, well, she said that the dogs were aggressive and that they scared her and she had to leave. But there was footage of the dogs happily greeting her at the door, sitting down, getting a cookie and a rub, and that was it. The second lady showed up for 5 minutes the first time, 8 minutes the second time, and 2 minutes the time after that, and this is a lady with 3 cats. So obviously that's something you want to be sure of, and if you want to set up a camera, if that makes you feel better, by all means go ahead. A lot of times what people do is write little notes. I know back when I was a dog walker, they'd leave little notes saying your dog was really good today. They met a friend on the walk. They had a pee and a poo. It was really good. They got a cookie when they got home. Something like that. But a lot of times you can tell quite a lot by the company itself. So you want to look for very good references. You want to, of course, check out their pricing, because some pet sitters will stay in your house overnight to look after your dog, and some of them will come visit your dog and then leave. So it's a completely different service that they're providing. A lot of times when they come, they can either play with your dog or walk your dog and then bring them back. So you want to be sure about what you're looking for when you go looking, whether you want a walker, a sitter, or an overnight. But it's harder to find an overnight than most people would think. I know there's some sites where you can drop your dog or cat off at somebody's house and they will watch them, and then you can pick them up when you get back, which I understand seems like a good idea, and this is just a personal preference. But I know Kaya does well with other dogs. Cats she's not super fond of yet, but dropping her off in somebody's house means that she's in an environment that's less stressful for her. Of course, if she were here and somebody visited her, I would be okay with that too, but she might get bored if she was home by herself. So for her to have the companionship of the person and the other animals in the house, that might be fun for her, but I'm not so fond of the idea of it. That's just my preference. The pet sitters, typically, most people use them because their friend said, oh, well, this lady looked after my cat while I was away, and she's really great. And then you get a reference that way. But always look for references. It's always a good way to go when somebody's looking after your pet, because ultimately they are your pet, but they're also part of the family. And you want to make sure that they're looked after, if, of course, where you're going does not allow pets. Because if you're flying, then you have to consider, do you really want to get extra vaccines for your pet that may make them sick, have them fly in a plane however many hours, and then get out wherever they are. But that's a whole nother consideration, and I'm pretty sure I did a discussion on traveling with your pet at one point. But that's all I have to say. If you have any questions for me or want to know places that I recommend, because I know quite a few of different types, feel free to message me at any time. But that's all I have to say about boarding facilities. Kaya absolutely loves hers, and when I say, are you going to camp tomorrow? She gets so excited. She has a little red backpack I got, and I wrote her name on it, and I put her stuff in there. And she's just so excited to go to camp. As soon as we pull in to our parking lot, I can't even get her stuff out of the car. I have to take her in first and then go back and get her stuff because she's so excited to go to camp. She doesn't even say bye. I hand her over to the lady, and she just, okay, see you later. And then she realizes, of course, I'm not there. So, but it's always funny. The first time I picked her up from camp, she plaid me over. I was sitting on the floor waiting to greet her, and she just ran straight at me. She's going, oh my goodness, you're here. That was pretty funny. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will be back next Tuesday to talk about common pet myths, which I think is going to be fun.